Hello there, wonderful friends. Welcome back to Senior Healthline, where we're dedicated to helping you live your golden years with vitality, wisdom, and joy. And today, we're diving into something that might seem small, but can make a huge difference in your health, your budget, and even how your meals taste. That's right, we're talking about how to store your vegetables. Now, before you click away thinking, really, vegetable storage, trust me when I say that this could be one of the most practical videos you watch all year. Did you know that storing certain vegetables in the refrigerator can actually make them harmful to your health? Or that leaving others out on the counter can expose you to dangerous bacteria? As we age, our immune systems naturally become less robust, making proper food storage even more crucial. Today, I'm counting down the top 5 vegetables you should never refrigerate and the 5 you absolutely must keep chilled. We'll start with the less critical ones and work our way to the most important veggie in each category, so be sure to stick around until the end. Before we dive in, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. Whether you're tuning in from Arizona or Australia, Florida or France, these tips will help you get the most nutrition and flavor from your produce while keeping you safe. All right, let's get started with our countdown of veggies that should never see the inside of your refrigerator. Part 1. Vegetables you should never refrigerate. 5. Sweet potatoes. Coming in at number 5 on our list of veggies that should stay out of your refrigerator. Sweet potatoes. These nutrient powerhouses are staples for many of us. Rich in fiber, vitamins A and C, and those valuable antioxidants that help fight inflammation. Something many of us deal with daily. But here's the problem. When you store sweet potatoes in the cold environment of your refrigerator, their cell structure changes dramatically. The center can become hard, even taking on an unpleasant taste that makes these otherwise delicious roots nearly inedible. Even worse, cold temperatures convert the starches in sweet potatoes into sugars much faster than normal. For seniors managing diabetes or watching their blood sugar, this unwanted sugar conversion can throw off carefully planned meals. Take Martha from Denver, who shared her story with me last month. She'd been refrigerating her sweet potatoes for years, thinking it would keep them fresh longer. But she couldn't figure out why they always tasted off and seemed to affect her blood sugar more than expected. Once she moved them to a cool, dark pantry spot, both issues resolved. So where should you keep your sweet potatoes? Store them in a cool, dry, well-ventilated area away from direct sunlight. A basket in your pantry or an open paper bag in a kitchen cabinet works perfectly. They'll stay fresh for 3 to 5 weeks when stored properly. Let's move on to number 4 on our keep out of the fridge list. Number 4 might surprise you, fresh basil. Now I know what you're thinking. Isn't basil a herb, not a vegetable? Technically, you're right, but since so many of us use fresh basil regularly in our cooking, I had to include it in our countdown. Fresh basil is a flavor powerhouse and offers impressive health benefits too. It contains essential oils that have been shown to reduce inflammation, improve digestion, and even help manage mild anxiety, all concerns that become more relevant as we age. But here's why basil should never be refrigerated. Cold temperatures cause those delicate leaves to turn black, wilt rapidly, and lose both their distinctive aroma and beneficial properties. The cold damages the cellular structure of the leaves, essentially ruining this wonderful herb. Many of us make this mistake because we're trying to preserve freshness. That was the case for Richard from Chicago, who wrote to me saying he'd been frustrated by how quickly his basil turned black in the refrigerator. He was shocked by how much longer it lasted and how much more flavorful it remained when he started treating it like a bouquet of flowers. That's right. The best way to store fresh basil is to trim the stems, place them in a glass with about an inch of water like flowers, and leave it on your counter at room temperature. Cover the leaves loosely with a plastic bag if you like, but make sure air can circulate. Change the water every couple of days, and your basil will stay vibrant and flavorful for up to 2 weeks. Not only will this method keep your basil fresher longer, but it also adds a lovely touch of green to your kitchen counter. Now let's move on to number 3 on our countdown. 3. Onions at number 3 on our list of vegetables that should never see the inside of your refrigerator. Onions. Onions are true kitchen workhorses for so many of us. They add depth and flavor to countless dishes, Plus, they're packed with compounds like quercetin that help reduce inflammation and support heart health, especially important as we age. But storing onions in the refrigerator creates several problems. First, the cold, humid environment causes onions to become soft and damp, which speeds up decay and encourages mold growth. Once those mold spores develop, they can penetrate deep into the layers, making the onion potentially unsafe to eat, particularly concerning for those of us with immune systems that aren't as robust as they once were. Additionally, refrigerated onions absorb moisture, causing their starches to convert into sugars faster. This not only alters their flavor, but can lead to bloating, discomfort, and increased gas. Digestive issues many seniors already struggle with. I heard from Vincent, an 82-year-old viewer from Montana, who had always refrigerated his onions, thinking it would preserve them. He noticed they often developed a slimy texture, had a slightly sour smell, and caused significant digestive discomfort after meals. After switching to proper storage, both his onions and his digestion improved dramatically. So what's the right way to store onions? Keep whole, unpeeled onions in a dark, dry, and well-ventilated space. A basket in your pantry, a mesh bag hanging in a cool spot, or even a dedicated onion keeper with holes for airflow. Avoid plastic bags which trap moisture and speed spoilage. One important note: once you've cut into an onion, the rules change. Wrap any unused portion tightly and refrigerate it, using it within a few days. Now, as we move closer to the top of our list, let's look at number 2, a fruit that's commonly treated as a vegetable, and one that loses nearly all its charm in the refrigerator. 2. Tomatoes coming in at number 2 on our countdown of vegetables you should never refrigerate. Tomatoes. Yes, botanically speaking, tomatoes are fruits, but culinarily most of us use them as vegetables. And they're far too important to leave off this list. Tomatoes are nutritional powerhouses, especially for seniors. They're rich in lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that supports heart health and has been linked to reduced risk of certain cancers. They also provide vitamin C, potassium, and folate, all vital nutrients as we age. But refrigerating tomatoes is one of the biggest mistakes you can make with this delicious produce. When you place fresh tomatoes in the refrigerator, the cold temperature disrupts their natural ripening process and damages their delicate cell structure. The result? A mealy, grainy texture and a watered-down, dull flavor that bears little resemblance to a properly stored tomato. For seniors who may already struggle with diminished taste sensation or who rely on softer, flavorful foods, this texture change can make tomatoes not only unpleasant, but less nutritionally beneficial too. Cold storage also significantly affects lycopene availability. Studies suggest that refrigeration can reduce the bioavailability of lycopene and other phytonutrients by up to 20%, meaning you're getting less of the heart protective and anti-inflammatory benefits that make tomatoes so valuable to senior health. I received a letter from Agatha, an 85-year-old viewer from Georgia, who loved making fresh tomato sandwiches but noticed they started tasting bland and gritty. When her daughter visited and saw tomatoes in the fridge, she explained the problem. After switching to counter storage, Agatha immediately experienced a return to rich flavor and better digestion with less bloating. The proper way to store tomatoes is at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. A cool counter or shaded pantry works perfectly. They should be placed stem side down on a flat surface with space between them for air circulation. One exception: if a tomato becomes fully ripe and you don't plan to use it right away, then, and only then, should you refrigerate it briefly to prevent spoilage. Just be sure to let it come back to room temperature before eating for the best flavor. And now we've reached the most important vegetable that should never be refrigerated. This one might surprise you, as many people make this crucial mistake every day. 1. Potatoes. And now we've reached number 1 on our countdown, the vegetable that should never see the inside of your refrigerator: potatoes. Potatoes have been a comfort food and dietary staple for generations, especially for many of us who appreciate their versatility, affordability, and soft texture when cooked. They provide valuable nutrients like vitamin C, potassium, and B vitamins. But refrigerating potatoes creates a genuinely concerning health risk that puts them firmly at the top of our never refrigerate list. Here's why. When potatoes are stored in cold temperatures, their natural starches begin converting to simple sugars. While that might sound harmless, those sugars can combine with amino acids during cooking, especially when frying or roasting, to produce acrylamide. Acrylamide is a chemical compound that research has linked to nerve damage, increased inflammation, and even elevated cancer risk with long-term exposure. For seniors already managing conditions like arthritis, diabetes, or kidney disease, consuming acrylamide from improperly stored potatoes may worsen inflammation and oxidative stress, working directly against your efforts to eat for better health. Beyond these serious health concerns, refrigeration also ruins a potato's texture. Cold temperatures make the flesh gritty and unpleasantly sweet, destroying the fluffy consistency most of us prefer in our mashed or baked potatoes. One of our viewers, Geraldine from Illinois, shared that she had always stored her potatoes in the fridge, thinking it would keep them fresh longer. But she started noticing a strange sweetness in her roasted dishes and experiencing increased indigestion afterward. When her granddaughter, who studies nutrition, explained the problem, Geraldine switched to storing potatoes in a cool, dark pantry. Her digestive discomfort vanished within a week. The proper way to store potatoes is in a cool, 45 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, dark and well-ventilated area, like a pantry, root cellar, or even a paper bag in a shaded cabinet. Never seal them in plastic, as moisture buildup can lead to mold or premature sprouting. One important tip: keep potatoes and onions separated during storage. They both release gases that cause the other to spoil faster when stored together, a common mistake in many kitchens. Now that we've covered the top 5 vegetables you should never refrigerate, let's take a short break before diving into the 5 vegetables that absolutely must be kept cold for safety and nutrition. Don't go away. The most important ones are yet to come. If you're enjoying these practical tips that can make a real difference in your health and well-being, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. That way you'll never miss our weekly videos on nutrition, exercise, mental sharpness, and all the other topics that help us thrive in our golden years. And remember to tell me where you're watching from in the comments. I love seeing all the different places our Senior Healthline family calls home. Now let's dive into the second half of our countdown, the 5 vegetables that absolutely must be refrigerated for safety, nutrition, and flavor. These are just as important as knowing what to keep out of the fridge, so let's get started. Part 2. Vegetables you must refrigerate. 5. Broccoli. Starting our countdown of vegetables that absolutely must be refrigerated. At number 5, broccoli. This cruciferous vegetable is truly a superfood for seniors. It's packed with fiber to support digestive health, vitamin K for bone strength, and powerful sulforaphane compounds that have been linked to cancer prevention and reduced inflammation. But broccoli is also one of the most perishable vegetables in your kitchen. When left at room temperature, it deteriorates remarkably quickly, often within just a day or two. The florets turn yellow, the stems become woody, and worst of all, the vital nutrients begin to degrade rapidly. What many people don't realize is that broccoli continues to breathe after harvest through a process called respiration. At room temperature, this respiration accelerates dramatically, causing the vegetable to use up its stored sugars and lose both flavor and nutritional value. For seniors focusing on brain health and anti-inflammatory diets, properly stored broccoli can be a powerful ally. But when stored improperly, you might be getting only a fraction of its benefits. Take Eleanor, a 75-year-old viewer from Portland, who wrote to me about her confusion over why some broccoli stayed fresh and vibrant, while other times it was limp and yellowing within a day. The difference was refrigeration. When she'd leave it in her grocery bag on the counter overnight, the quality difference was dramatic compared to when she refrigerated it immediately. To keep broccoli at its nutritional peak, store it unwashed in the refrigerator's crisper drawer, preferably in a loosely perforated plastic bag that allows for some air circulation. For maximum freshness, sprinkle the heads with a few drops of water before storing. Broccoli stays freshest with a touch of moisture. Properly refrigerated broccoli can last up to a week while retaining most of its nutritional benefits. At room temperature, those same benefits might be reduced by half within just 24 hours. Let's move on to number 4 on our must refrigerate list. a vegetable that many people incorrectly leave on the counter, potentially exposing themselves to harmful bacteria. 4. Corn. At number 4 on our list of vegetables that must be refrigerated, fresh corn on the cob. Sweet corn is a beloved summer vegetable for many of us, bringing back memories of backyard barbecues and family gatherings. It's also nutritionally valuable, providing fiber, B vitamins, and antioxidants that support eye health, particularly important as we age. But here's what many people don't realize about fresh corn. From the moment it's harvested, its sugars begin converting to starch at a remarkably rapid pace. This is why corn picked that morning tastes so much sweeter than corn that's been sitting around, even for just a day. When left at room temperature, corn can lose up to 25% of its sugar content in just 24 hours, drastically changing both its flavor and nutritional profile. Refrigeration slows this process dramatically, preserving both taste and nutrients. Beyond the nutritional aspects, unrefrigerated corn creates a perfect breeding ground for bacteria in its moist, sweet environment, particularly concerning for seniors with more vulnerable immune systems. The warm, humid area between the kernels and husks can harbor microbes that multiply rapidly at room temperature. I heard from Thomas, a 79-year-old viewer from Kansas, who shared that he used to keep fresh corn in a basket on his counter, the way his parents had on their farm. But he couldn't figure out why it never tasted as sweet as he remembered, and occasionally caused digestive upset. Once he started refrigerating corn immediately after purchase, both issues resolved completely. To properly store fresh corn, refrigerate it as soon as possible after purchase or harvest. Keep it in its husk for the best protection and moisture retention, and place it in the vegetable drawer of your refrigerator. For maximum sweetness and nutrition, try to use it within 1 to 2 days, though properly refrigerated corn can last up to 5 days. If you've purchased more corn than you can eat fresh, consider blanching and freezing the extra. Blanched corn kernels can be frozen for 6 to 8 months, providing a taste of summer even in the depths of winter. Now let's move on to number 3 on our must refrigerate list, a vegetable that poses a particularly significant safety risk when left unrefrigerated. 3. Bell peppers. Coming in at number 3 on our countdown of vegetables that must be refrigerated, bell peppers. These colorful vegetables are more than just a pretty addition to your salads and stir-fries. They're nutritional powerhouses, particularly for seniors. One medium bell pepper contains more vitamin C than an orange, supporting immune function, collagen production for skin health, and iron absorption. Red, yellow, and orange varieties also provide beta-carotene for eye health and lutein for cognitive function, both increasingly important as we age. But to preserve these valuable nutrients, proper storage is essential. When bell peppers are left at room temperature, they lose moisture quickly, becoming soft, wrinkled, and less nutritious. Studies show that bell peppers stored at room temperature can lose up to 75% of their vitamin C within a week, a tremendous nutritional waste. The exposure to warm air and light accelerates the breakdown of their phytonutrients, particularly the vitamin C, which is already fragile and sensitive to heat. For seniors focusing on strengthening immunity or recovering from illness, this nutrient loss can significantly reduce the effectiveness of an otherwise healthy diet. Florence, a 77-year-old viewer from Alabama, shared her story about how she loved adding raw bell pepper strips to her lunch, but often left them out after shopping. Over time, she noticed the peppers became rubbery, and interestingly, her arthritis seemed more bothersome after meals. Her local dietitian explained that poorly stored peppers lose their anti-inflammatory compounds, particularly vitamin C, which can affect joint comfort. After refrigerating her peppers properly, Florence reported both better tasting vegetables and less discomfort. To properly store bell peppers, keep them whole and unwashed in the refrigerator's vegetable drawer. If you've cut them, seal the pieces in an airtight container and use them within 3 to 5 days. If you notice any soft spots developing, trim those areas away promptly to prevent the spread of spoilage. For the longest shelf life, avoid washing peppers until you're ready to use them, as the additional moisture can speed deterioration. With proper refrigeration, whole bell peppers can stay fresh for up to 2 weeks, giving you plenty of time to enjoy their benefits in various meals. Now, as we approach the top of our list, let's look at number 2, a vegetable category that can become particularly dangerous when not properly chilled. 2. Leafy greens. At number 2 on our list of vegetables that absolutely must be refrigerated, leafy greens. This category includes everything from spinach, kale, and romaine, to arugula, Swiss chard, and collard greens. For seniors looking to boost fiber intake, support digestion, and protect heart and brain health, few vegetables are more valuable than these tender greens. They're loaded with vitamins A, C, and K, along with folate, magnesium, and powerful antioxidants that protect aging cells from damage. But there's one rule that cannot be overlooked. Leafy greens must be kept cold. When stored at room temperature, leafy greens deteriorate with alarming speed. Their high water content makes them highly perishable, and warm conditions cause them to wilt within hours. More importantly, unrefrigerated greens become a breeding ground for harmful bacteria like E. coli and Listeria, both of which pose significant health risks, especially to older adults with naturally weakened immune defenses. In fact, according to food safety experts, leafy greens are among the most common sources of foodborne illness in the United States. For seniors, such infections aren't just inconvenient, they can lead to serious complications requiring hospitalization. Refrigeration not only slows the spoilage process, but also preserves the delicate vitamins that make leafy greens so nutritious. Vitamin C, for example, degrades rapidly when exposed to heat and light. Refrigeration helps lock in this vital nutrient and prevents the slimy decay that makes salads unappetizing and unsafe. I received a letter from Henrietta, an 86-year-old viewer from Oregon, who loved having fresh greens with her lunch, but didn't always refrigerate her farmer's market purchases, thinking they'd be fine for a day or two. After experiencing severe stomach cramps and nausea that sent her to urgent care, she learned her lesson. Now, Henrietta refrigerates her greens immediately and reports they not only last longer, but taste better too. The best way to store leafy greens is in the refrigerator's crisper drawer, preferably in a breathable container lined with paper towels to absorb excess moisture. Don't wash greens until you're ready to use them, as additional water encourages spoilage. For maximum nutrition and safety, consume them within 3 to 5 days of purchase. And now we've reached the most important vegetable that must be kept refrigerated, one that many people don't realize requires cold storage for safety and nutrition. 1. Asparagus. And now we've reached number 1 on our countdown, the vegetable that absolutely must be refrigerated for both safety and nutrition, asparagus. This elegant spring vegetable may seem hardy, but it's actually one of the most perishable items in your produce drawer. Rich in folate, vitamins A, C, and K, and loaded with fiber and antioxidants, asparagus offers exceptional benefits for seniors, supporting heart health, brain function, and digestion. But what many don't realize is that asparagus has one of the highest respiration rates of any vegetable, meaning it breathes and uses up its stored nutrients incredibly quickly after harvest. At room temperature, asparagus can lose up to 50% of its vitamin C and folate in just 24 hours, nutrients that are particularly valuable for seniors managing homocysteine levels and cardiovascular health. Beyond the nutritional losses, unrefrigerated asparagus rapidly develops bacteria in its moist tips, potentially leading to foodborne illness. The tender tips provide an ideal environment for microbial growth, which accelerates dramatically at room temperature. What's more, asparagus contains naturally occurring compounds that break down quickly without refrigeration, causing those distinctive sulfurous odors that make the vegetable unpalatable. For seniors who may already struggle with appetite or dietary variety, properly stored asparagus provides a delicious, easy-to-digest option that supports multiple aspects of health. Margaret, a 74-year-old viewer from Seattle, wrote to me about her confusion when the asparagus she'd brought home from the farmer's market turned slimy and developed an off-putting smell within just 1 day of sitting in a vase on her counter. She'd heard that treating asparagus like flowers would keep it fresh, but this approach actually accelerated spoilage. Once she started storing it properly in the refrigerator, she was able to enjoy it for nearly a week after purchase. To properly store asparagus, there's a special technique that preserves both freshness and nutrition, Trim about half an inch from the woody bottoms of the stalks. Then stand the bunch upright in a glass with about an inch of water at the bottom, like flowers in a vase. Now here's the crucial difference from the common misconception. This asparagus bouquet should go directly into the refrigerator, not sit on your counter. Cover the tips loosely with a plastic bag to prevent moisture loss while still allowing air circulation. Change the water daily if possible, and your asparagus can stay garden fresh for up to a week. This method keeps the stalks hydrated while the cold temperature slows both respiration and bacterial growth, preserving both safety and nutritional value. It's a simple technique, but one that makes a tremendous difference in how beneficial your asparagus remains from store to plate. And there you have it, friends. Our complete countdown of the 5 vegetables you should never refrigerate and the 5 you absolutely must keep cold. I hope these tips help you get the most nutrition, flavor, and safety from your vegetables. Remember, as we age, these small details in food handling become increasingly important for our health, digestion, and immune protection. If you found this information helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to Senior Healthline for more science-backed advice on nutrition, exercise, and living your best life in your golden years. Don't forget to share where you're watching from in the comments below. I love connecting with our worldwide community of wise, wonderful seniors. And let me know, which of these storage tips surprised you the most? Were you refrigerating something you shouldn't have been? Or keeping something at room temperature that should have been chilled? Until then, this is the Senior Health Line, reminding you that age is just a number, but wisdom is earned every day. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.